You're standing at the corner coffee cart, tapping your card without a second thought, morning traffic building up behind you. 6 months back, that exact same tap would have made your stomach drop. Back then, mornings began with 6:47 a.m., a phone screen, 9 days of refusing to check your balance, a number you were too afraid to look at. That's really where all of this began. Not here, not settled, but there, in the moment when avoiding your bank account finally stopped working. So, rewind 6 months, back to the bed, the ceiling, the phone already in your hand before your feet even touch the floor. Month 1. Facing the numbers. You don't get up right away. You sit with that number for a minute, the same way you'd sit with bad news from a doctor before you decide whether to call anyone about it. Then you swing your legs off the bed and go make coffee, because apparently that's what people do. Life keeps moving. It always does. By the time you're at the kitchen counter, laptop open, cursor blinking in an empty spreadsheet, the panic has drained into something duller. Not calm exactly, just tired of being scared of your own bank account. You start writing things down, not a budget. You've tried budgets before, they always die by April. Just numbers. What comes in, what goes out. You split it into 4 piles because 4 is a number you can hold in your head without flinching. What you actually bring home, what keeps the lights on, what's supposed to go into savings, and what you spend on nothing in particular. That last pile is where you find the Golden Goose sneakers. $530 still sitting in the box, tags on. Bought the same week your card balance crossed $6,700, right around what the average American carries on a credit card these days. You bought them the night your friend Danielle got engaged and posted the ring, a cushion-cut solitaire, and you needed to feel like your own life was moving somewhere too. The shoes never left the closet. You told yourself you were saving them for something. You don't cry over it. You just close the box back up in your head and keep typing. Rent eats up more than it's supposed to. Everyone tells you 50% for essentials, 30% for fun, 20% for the future, like it's scripture. Like rent hasn't quietly become the biggest line on the page for almost everyone you know. So instead you run the math that actually fits your life instead of the one from the internet. 70 toward essentials, 20 toward living, 10 toward whoever you're going to be in 5 years. It's not the textbook ratio, it's the honest one. Somewhere in the middle of all this, your phone buzzes. A text from Danielle. She's floating wedding dates, Nashville in the spring, asking if you're free. You say probably not, committing to nothing, least of all the money. You keep going. Card balance, interest rate a little past 21%, which you've genuinely never looked at until tonight, and which explains with brutal clarity why the number never seems to move no matter what you pay. You write it down anyway, not to fix it tonight, just to stop pretending it's smaller than it actually is. By midnight, the spreadsheet isn't pretty. 4 columns, a lot of white space, and 1 red number sitting at the bottom like a bruise. But it's honest, which is more than you can say for however many months you spent not looking. You close the laptop. The shame that dragged you out of bed this morning hasn't disappeared, but it's changed shape. It's not fog anymore. It's a number. And it turns out numbers are things you can actually do something about. You don't feel proud yet. You're not there. But for the first time in a long while, you know exactly what you're dealing with, and that makes for a very different kind of Tuesday than the one you woke up into. Which means tomorrow the question isn't what happened, it's what you're going to build on top of it. Month 2. Saving and net worth. Saturday, you're at the laundromat on the corner, watching your clothes tumble behind the little round window, like they're rehearsing a version of your life that's more together than you feel. Your phone's out, and instead of scrolling, you're doing something you haven't done since maybe college. Adding things up. Everything you own on one side, the $1,100 in checking, the $400 left in the 401k from your last job, the car worth less than you paid for it, obviously. Everything you owe on the other side, the card balance from last month's spreadsheet, the last chunk of a personal loan you took out for a cousin's move 3 years back. You subtract one from the other, and the number that comes back is negative. Not shocking, still strange seeing it typed out, like a name you didn't know you had. Your friend Amara walks in with her own basket, drops it 2 machines down, and sits beside you like she does most Saturdays. She's got a new bag on her shoulder, the Coach Tabby, size 26, tan leather, the kind that shows up in every third video on your feed lately. She got it for her birthday. You tell her it's nice? You mean it. You also notice you don't feel the old pull to want one yourself. Not today. And that surprises you more than the negative number did. You go back to your phone, not to spiral, but to open something, a savings account at Ally, separate from the checking account you've had since you were 19. The old account's been paying you next to nothing, something like 0.4% a year, which is basically a bank thanking you for lending it your own money. The new one pays closer to 4%. Same dollars, completely different treatment. You move $60 over just to start, and the app makes a small, satisfied chime like it's proud of you. Nobody else is, that's fine. You didn't do it for an audience. The real target isn't the $60 anyway. It's what the $60 is pointed at. One full month of your actual bills, rent, groceries, the electric bill, insurance. Not 6 months. Not the number every article throws around like everyone's starting from the same place. Just 1 month sitting untouched so that if your car needs a new alternator or your landlord raises rent with 2 weeks' notice, it doesn't turn into $400 on a card charging you 21% a year to borrow from yourself. Amara's folding a t-shirt, half listening. Why not just pay off the card first, she asks, not unkindly. You almost don't have an answer until you do. Because the one thing standing between a bad week and a bad year isn't willpower. It's a number sitting in an account you haven't touched. Without it, one flat tire spirals into something bigger. With it, a flat tire is just a flat tire. Your dryer buzzes. You fold your clothes on the counter next to hers, still thinking about that $60 sitting somewhere it can't be spent by accident. It's such a small amount. It doesn't feel like anything yet, but it's the first dollar in your life that isn't already spoken for. And once you've moved $1 like that, you start looking at every other dollar the same way, which means the next thing standing in your way isn't invisible anymore. It has a name, a balance, and an interest rate. And it's the only thing left between you and clear ground. Month 3, stopping the bleeding. Danielle's text finally turns into a real date. Nashville, the second weekend in April, 3 nights at the Thompson downtown. A bachelorette group chat already 15 messages deep about matching outfits. You do the math before you even open the group chat properly. Flight, hotel split 4 ways, brunch, a bar crawl down Broadway. Everyone pretends is optional, but never is. Somewhere around $400, conservatively. You sit with your phone longer than the message deserves. Then you type, I'm going to have to sit this one out, and delete it 4 times before you actually send it. Danielle writes back a string of sad faces and one will miss you that you know she genuinely means. You set the phone face down on the counter and feel exactly as lonely as you expected, but you already know where that $400 is going instead, because you've been staring at it all week. The card balance sitting at $6,700. The interest rate you finally looked up properly this time, a little over 21% on the balance you're carrying, closer to 25% if you ever had to open a new card at today's rates. You sketch out roughly what happens if you only pay the minimum, and the number is almost funny. Years of payments, most of it just feeding the interest, barely touching what you actually borrowed. There are 2 common ways people attack this, and you've read about both enough times to already have a preference before you even decide. One method has you pay off the highest interest rate first, which saves the most money in the end. The other has you pay off the smallest balance first, which doesn't save as much, but gets you a win faster. You've never finished anything in your life by doing the mathematically perfect thing first. So you pick the smaller balance, an old store card from a mattress you bought 3 years ago, and go after it like it personally insulted you. Your coworker Trevor, 2 cubicles down, mentions he just sold his old drum kit and a mountain bike he never rides anymore. Cleared almost $300 on Facebook Marketplace over a weekend. That night, you go home and open your own closet. The Golden Goose sneakers are still there, tags on, $530 new. You list them for $220 and they sell within 6 hours to someone 2 towns over. It doesn't feel like a loss. It feels like finally clawing something back from a decision made in a worse mood. Between the sold shoes, some side cash from picking up a few weekend shifts, and cutting your own spending down to nothing extra, you throw everything at the mattress card first. It's gone by the third week of the month. Then you turn everything, every last spare dollar, onto the real one, the one with 21% sitting on it like a tax for being late to your own life. You also top off the emergency cushion you started last month, pushing it past $1,000 so a bad week can't undo what you've already built. Not the full 6-month fund people talk about, just enough that one more surprise bill doesn't send you right back to square one. Nashville comes and goes without you. Danielle sends a picture from Broadway, neon glowing behind her, and you like it and mean it. The loneliness doesn't fully disappear. You notice it, you let it sit there. But underneath it, there's something else now, something that wasn't there in January. The balance is actually moving. Not gone. Moving. And once a number starts moving downward instead of just sitting there, you start wondering what it would feel like to point that same energy somewhere new, somewhere that isn't just paying off yesterday, but starting to build tomorrow. Month 4, turning to a fence. Driving home from work, you take the long way past the car lot on Route 9, the one with strings of little flags that never stop moving. A 2026 BMW sits under the lights near the entrance, a lease sign taped to the windshield reading $549 a month. Like it's nothing. Like $549 a month is a rounding error. You slow down at the light out front. You don't turn in. 6 months ago you would have. Not because you're a different person now, you still want the car if you're honest. You can still picture yourself pulling up somewhere in it, but you've spent the last few months watching a number actually move for the first time in years. And something about that makes $549 feel like it belongs to someone else now. Someone you haven't decided to become yet. The light turns green. You drive home. That same week, HR sends the annual reminder email about open enrollment, the one everyone deletes without reading. You almost do too until you remember something. Holly, the woman 2 desks over in accounting, mentioned at lunch. The company matches 50 cents on the dollar, up to 6% of your pay, and she'd been leaving it on the table for 2 years without realizing it was, in her own words, just money nobody's making you earn. You open your 401k portal for the first time since you were hired and bump your contribution up to the full 6%. It's about as close to free money as you'll ever be handed, and you'd been ignoring it the same way you used to ignore your bank balance. Next comes the part that actually scares you a little, the Roth IRA. You'd always pictured investing as something for people with spreadsheets and blazers, not someone who was climbing out of a credit card balance 3 months ago. But the account takes 11 minutes to open on your phone, sitting on your couch with the TV muted. This year, you can put up to $7,500 into it, though you're nowhere near that yet. You start with what the lease payment would have been, $549 redirected, landing in an index fund instead of a driveway. You don't pick individual stocks. Holly told you not to bother. You're not smarter than the whole market. None of us are. So you put it into a fund that simply owns a slice of the 500 biggest companies in the country. The same fund your coworker keeps mentioning by its ticker, like it's a nickname for an old friend. Over the last 30 years, money invested this way has grown by a little over 10% a year on average, dividends included. You don't fully believe the number yet. It feels too easy after months of everything feeling hard. That night, you sit with your phone, the empty space in your driveway, and the new account balance that's smaller than a car payment, but somehow feels heavier. Holly's words stick with you, that the money you make later depends entirely on what you protect now. You think about the BMW again, just once, and then you don't. You go to bed without a car under new lights, without a bag from the mall, without anything you can show anyone. Just a number sitting somewhere you can't touch it for decades, quietly doing something you can't see yet. And for the first time, that invisible thing feels like more of a flex than anything with a lease attached to it, which makes you wonder what else you've been paying for that was never really building you anything at all. Month 5, widening the lane. You're at Nordstrom on your lunch break, not shopping for anything, just walking off a headache from a meeting that ran 40 minutes long. You stop at the watch counter because the light hits it a certain way, and there it is, a Rolex date. Just 36, Jubilee bracelet, The price tag turns just enough that you have to lean in to read it. $8,200. You don't ask to try it on. You just stand there for a second the way you'd stand in front of a house you weren't touring. Just looking. 6 months ago, that number would have made you feel something closer to shame. Proof of a gap between where you are and where you're supposed to be. Today, it just feels like information. Not yet. Not never. Just not yet. Back at your desk, your manager stops by with the kind of casual energy that usually means something's coming. He mentions review season is in 3 weeks and asks if you've thought about what you want to bring up. You hadn't, not really. You'd been so focused on the numbers at home that the number on your paycheck had started to feel fixed, like the weather. But you think about the last 5 months, the debt that's actually shrinking, the 6% going into your 401k, the $400 into your Ally account, the Roth quietly working in the background, and you realize you've been treating your income like it's someone else's decision. That night, you write down plainly what you've taken on this year that wasn't in your job description when you started, the reporting dashboard nobody else wanted to build. The 2 new hires you unofficially trained. You're not dramatic about it in the meeting 3 weeks later. You just say the numbers out loud, the way you've gotten used to saying numbers out loud lately, and ask for 8%. You get 6. It's not everything. It's also not nothing. It's real money landing every 2 weeks instead of arriving once as a decision you made instead of one that happened to you. Your neighbor Isabel, who drives for a delivery app most evenings after her regular shift, mentions she picked up an extra $600 last month, just from a few hours after dinner a few nights a week. You'd dismissed the idea before, too tired, too much effort for too little return. But this time you actually run the math instead of just feeling the exhaustion of the idea. Even $200 extra a month dropped straight into the same system you've already built moves faster than you'd expect, because it's not starting from zero. It's landing on top of habits that already exist. You don't take a second job. You do pick up a few freelance hours a friend from college keeps trying to send your way, work you'd been too anxious to say yes to back when your finances felt like a leaking boat. Now it just feels like a Tuesday with a little more in it. The raise and the freelance money don't change your life this month. You don't buy the watch. You don't even go back to look at it again. But driving home one night, you notice that the number in your head when you picked your someday has quietly crept a little closer to now. Which means the only thing left to figure out is how to keep all of this running without having to think about it every single day. Month 6, automating the future. Payday lands on a Friday, and for the first time in over a year, you don't open your banking app first thing to see what's left. You already know, rent went out automatically Tuesday night. A slice moved into the Ally account automatically. Another slice landed in the Roth IRA, the same as it does every 2 weeks now without you lifting a finger. You set all of it up on a Sunday afternoon a few weeks back, sitting on your couch for 20 minutes, and it's been running itself ever since. You notice the difference most on the nights you don't notice anything at all. Your friend Marcus, no, you catch yourself, it's Grant. From your building, the guy who works nights at the hospital texts asking if you want to split a pizza and watch the game. You say yes without running the math in your head first. Not because the math doesn't matter anymore, but because it's already been done on a schedule by a system that doesn't get tired or talk itself into just this once. That's the part nobody tells you about discipline, that the real goal was never having more of it. By evening, most people are running on fumes, making worse decisions than they would at 9 in the morning. And money is no exception. You used to skip the transfer because you were tired, or order delivery because deciding not to felt like more effort than you had left. Automating it doesn't require you to be strong. It just means the version of you that's exhausted at 9 p.m. never gets a vote. That weekend, for the first time, you actually let yourself think past the next paycheck. You open a blank note on your phone and write down where you want to be in 1 year, then 3, then 5, then 10, then 25. A year ago, this would have felt like fantasy, a wish list with no floor under it. Now there's a floor, the debt is gone, the 401k match is captured, the Roth is funded. So the 25-year line doesn't feel made up anymore. It just feels far away. You let yourself write down the actual thing, the one you'd normally never say out loud. A 2-bedroom condo in St. Petersburg's Old Northeast. The waterfront pocket with the brick streets and the big oak canopy, listed most recently around $685,000. You don't know if it'll be that exact unit, that exact number, 25 years from now. It doesn't matter. What matters is that for the first time, it's not a picture you saw and scrolled past. It's a line item on a page that already has other line items working underneath it. Grant shows up with the pizza around 7. You don't mention any of this, you just sit on the couch half watching the game, feeling something that isn't excitement exactly, more like the quiet of a room after you finally fixed the thing that was rattling in it. Later, after he leaves, you open your accounts one more time, out of habit more than worry. Everything moved where it was supposed to move. Nothing needs you tonight. 6 months ago, checking your phone before your feet hit the floor felt like bracing for a hit. Tonight, it's just a phone. The dread didn't get talked out of existence. It just ran out of a job to do. Right now, you are the youngest you will ever be. Whatever version of yourself decided to automate all this, the next version inherits it without ever having to remember why it started. The number stopped scaring you. You still check your phone before your feet hit the floor? That never stopped. What's gone is the flinch. The number just sits there now, doing exactly what you told it to do 6 months ago. You didn't get here through willpower. You got here by making the boring choice on repeat, the transfer nobody saw, the lease you didn't sign, the trip you skipped so something else could grow instead. Tomorrow, notice the small moment where the old version of you would have looked away. A bill, a balance, a text about money you don't want to answer. Look anyway. Nothing about tomorrow is easy just because you understand it now. The rent still comes. The watch is still sitting in its case, but the fear that used to live inside not knowing, that part's already gone. The next number you don't want to look at is already waiting. What will you do the morning you finally check it?